Good morning, everyone. Today, I'd like to talk to you about a fairly common subject, released but still holding on. You ever felt that way? There are times when God's already loosed the chains that we've been praying about. He's opened the door and made the way clear. Yet somehow we remain stuck, kind of clinging on to what He's asked us to leave behind. We're released to move, but we still hold on. That's the subject matter. Whether it's a relationship, it could be, maybe a habit, a mindset, could go so far as to even be a version of ourselves that no longer serves our calling. We hold on. Why do we do that? I think it's because comfort is easier than change. Oh, yeah, we've all been there for sure. Even when it hurts, comfort still remains easier than change. It was in the book of Exodus that God freed the Israelites from slavery. We're all familiar with that story. Yet they often wanted to go back to where they were in the slave yards. Freedom was unfamiliar to these people at that time, but God's plan wasn't survival, it was transformation. And I'll submit to you today that God's plan for you is not just survival, it is transformation. Paul wrote to the Galatians in chapter 5, and he said, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." What we're holding on to can cause us to become a slave to it. So be careful about holding on to things God has released you from. Sometimes what's keeping us bound is really not God's delay at all, it's our grip on it. Let go. Let God finish what He started. Let's release or loose the weight, loose ourselves from the weight He never intended for us to carry into our next season. There is a time when we need to rid ourselves of some previous thing. They no longer serve our purpose in our destiny and move on to the next season. See, He has more for us, but sometimes our hands have to be receiving it with openness. We have to open our hands to receive what God wants. And then a final statement I would make this morning is maybe you're not waiting on God. Let me rephrase that. Maybe we are not waiting on God. Maybe God's waiting on us. Yeah, a little tough love here this morning to wind up this week. But I thank God for you. I thank God for those who have tuned in and listened to our little morning chat. And I'm glad that God still loves us, cares for us, and still frees us from things. So let's recognize if we are free, then let's move on. Let's don't refuse to let go of what we've had because the future is brighter than any yesterday we can remember. God bless you. Remember, no one succeeds alone, and we will talk again soon.